Hi. Hey. Hello. We say that the hour of death cannot be forecast. But when we say this, we imagine that the hour is placed in an obscure and distant future. It never occurs to us that it has any connection with the day already begun, or that death could arrive this same afternoon. This afternoon, which is so certain, and which has every hour filled in advance. There's a certain horror franchise I have yet to experience for the very first time that I've been avoiding, cheating, something I've only heard few whispers of, and it was enough to leave me spooked. Yet like all things, it's inevitable. It has caught up to me, the Final Destination franchise. Let's endure it together. This is the Final Destination Trepidation. Who were the ones that caused all this madness? Let me explain. Writer Jeffrey Reddick was inspired when reading an article of a woman who was on vacation, and her mother called her, telling her, "Don't take the flight tomorrow. I have a really bad feeling about it." Her suspicions were correct, for the woman switched flights, and her former flight ended up crashing. He originally composed the idea of avoiding the nature of death for an episode of the X-Files, yet he decided to turn it into a full-length feature film and push the idea further under New Line Cinema with creatives James Wong, and Glenn Morgan. With all their minds put together, they had no idea what they had in their hands when they unleashed Final Destination onto the world. The film that kicked all this off, Final Destination. As the debut for the saga, I like it, honestly. It's great even with some notable little issues. We follow high schooler Alex Browning as he endures a trip to France for his French class, alongside best friend Todd Wagner, shy girl Claire, yes, her name is Claire, her full name is Claire Rivers, the writers knew what they were doing, Jock Carter Horton, his girlfriend Terry, Stifler, Billy.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Oh man, I'm so sorry. Is everybody okay?
Amazing.
Yes. The force is strong in that one.
And teacher Miss Luton. Yet when Alex aborted Flight 180 and noticing many things that felt off to him, the plane blows up and everybody dies, only for it all to be a vision for him, a premonition of the future. And when he and the rest of our survivors get off and the plane actually does blow up, they cheated death, and now it's out to finish the job. A wild concept for a film, especially acknowledging this was formerly a spec script for an X-Files episode. I knew of this franchise beforehand after hearing its name floating around the film spectrum. Growing up and even when delved into horror, never got around to it until now. and knowing the general mechanics of this series, yet I'm never looking at anything the same way again, especially after this film. Like, I've already had a fear of planes a little bit, because though I always calm myself down and can go on a plane, not gonna lie, once we take off, I do start shitting myself, and I would never go on a plane again after this movie. Yet I love that so much. This film doesn't have a Freddy Krueger or a Jason Voorhees. The same antagonist of this film is death and nature in of itself, and loves fucking with both the characters and us, the audience, with the extreme circumstances of this film. The deaths are outstanding. Already the plane incident hooks us in, yet the follow-up deaths, though more small scale, generally are effective at being terrifying for turning everyday things into your ultimate demise. The boy Todd legit got violated. And especially Miss Luton, like, damn. The film is truly unpredictable in that sense, really getting us ramped up scene after scene as to whether our characters will meet their demise or manage to escape it. And it helps that the film is practical and generally well done. I feel a little too real. Though what helps also is that the characters are quite likable. My only issue is that I'm sorry, I downright hate the trope of adults don't believe the characters because they're kids. Don't get me wrong, this film does a way better job at handling it for its time, because main boy Alex looks sus as hell, and the concept of death is way harder to believe, so it's sensible. It just gets a tad bit annoying, yet I do understand the trope, and how it adds to the stakes of the characters, and the overall story. Yet I do like the characters well enough. They aren't the most complex characters, obviously, yet I like them enough, and generally want them to get themselves out of this predicament. My favorites being Claire, who has a nice moment with Alex, expressing her past with her dad. That is the closest to any character depth. Billy, who's just funny, and maybe I'm biased because he's the stiff meister, and I grew to like Carter, because though he's an asshole, he generally became funny. I like Devon Sawa as well. He does a good job with the typical horror protagonist role. The cast all around is good. Another issue I have is the music. It's just not really present, and it's very stereotypical horror movie music. I don't even think there's an iconic theme song for this franchise. Then maybe the sequels will disprove this. And I don't think the overall plot is bad. Yet it's half exposition, dump, and half death scene to death scene to death scene. Not that I'm complaining, this is a fun popcorn flick horror blockbuster. And with the theme of death hunting down our survivors, I wouldn't mind some further exploration and depth, or even more of a reaction from the characters of this crazy situation. But it is what it is, I guess. The cinematography is solid. Funnily enough, this looks like a TV show, but not a bad one either. A very good looking TV show, which adds the more so small scale steps of this movie. It's got a nice flow with the editing. I like how the film is an hour and 30. It doesn't waste your time. The dialogue and overall stylization is comedically dark humor and keeps you on your toes. This is a very, very solid horror film. Although it is very clearly a 2000s young adult horror blockbuster, it's a damn good one of its era, coming out of Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and many others. It sticks out amongst its peers of its era, and truly is just a fun popcorn flick to watch on your own, or with friends, and generally is eerie and leaves an impact on you with its ideas. It's not perfect, yet I really adore this movie. And the fact that John Denver music is the death of us, I was like, why? I like John Denver, yet this one song of his causes so much death. But yeah, this is a very fun start to the chaos of Final Destination, but this is far from our last stop.
I told you were next. It just skipped me. So who's next?
After the crash of this turned this tragic story into something even stranger. The survivors who managed to get...
The direct sequel, Final Destination 2. This time around we followed Kimberly Corman, an ordinary young adult girl going on a road trip to Dakota with her group of lovely friends. Yeah, okay. Yet when they get on the road, she gets yet a premonition of a huge traffic collision that kills everybody, and thus she manages to save a good amount of people. But once again, they have pleaded death. And so, with the assistance of our only returning character, Clear River's Waterside Aquafina, they have to try and survive Death's design, because Death said fuck it and threw a brick at Alex and called it a day. I'll be honest right off the bat, I think the premonition accident here is way crazier than even the last film, for it's very common for us to be afraid of a plane trip since anything can happen. But for a traffic accident like this to happen is generally more horrifying because of how batshit it is, in the common fact that we all drive, so it's even more intimidating, which makes me bring up the crucial element that makes me believe why this film is superior to the first, is that this shit is a full-on Looney Tunes Wile E. Coyote cartoon, not just of the accident yet across the entire film. It truly has this cartoonist edge that is batshit insanity, and I love every minute of it. The deaths are way more over the top here, and it's not a bad thing at it, for it still expands on the domino effect of coincidental circumstances off the first film to the extreme. It makes it still terrifying, yet so much more fun this time around. Even the overall production value is better, as though way goofier, it still comes off well and appealing. Like it generally feels real with every death. It's amazing how they can blend cartoony madness with a still raw horror edge, and it's great. It helps that our characters here, though not exactly complex, at least have a trait that defines them to make them more memorable, and have a part to play. It's also interesting seeing how this time around, this is just a group of random disconnected strangers, now having to work together to avoid dying. That adds a good enough dilemma to the cast, especially when through a majority of the film, we have that amazing scene in the car where they reveal how all the characters here are connected to the first film's cast, and I love that detail.
It's not the first time I cheated death. Kid came to school with a knife, killed his teacher. Teacher would have been me if I was transferred to another school 2 days before.
A call came in about a train wreck. Frank decided to let me handle it alone. He died that night in a shootout. If that call had come in just 10 seconds later, I'd be dead too.
I got one too. It's like, okay, so last May, I'm supposed to go and stay at this cheesy little bed and breakfast in Pennsylvania, right? So anyhow, there's this major gas leak that no one knows about, and all the guests suffocated during the night.
So what happened?
I don't know. I never made it. The bus I was on splattered some girl all over the road.
Was that in Mount Abraham?
Yes. How did you know?
That bus you were on killed Terry Cheney. She was supposed to die on Flight 180.
Do you guys remember that theater in Paris that collapsed last year and killed everybody inside? Well, I had tickets to go. But one night, I'm in Paris and I'm just tripping on acid and sipping lattes and such, and then all of a sudden, this dude out of nowhere just gets whacked by this falling sign.
Carter.
The teacher I replaced. Her name was Val Luton. She was from Mount Abraham. She died in an explosion.
Shit. The call about the train wreck that saved my life. That was the night I scraped up Billy Hitchcock.
I was supposed to meet her outside, but I got caught up watching this news report about some kid that committed suicide. Kept thinking, how can you strangle yourself in the bathtub? That's stupid.
Which brings me to talk about how this works well as a standalone film. It is generally a very good sequel to the first Final Destination. I love how, though minimal, it expands on the rules of the first film and really messes with both the characters and us. It keeps the stakes higher as even the characters, alongside returning persona Clear, who is great in this film, don't even know how to survive this one. And generally, I adore that. Alongside the music, that is serviceable and stands out more. The visuals being better, I love the batshit crazy tone. Like, guys, this movie's funny, man. Like, it's so absurd that I can't help but just not have anything else to do than just laugh at it. This is a peak horror comedy right here, and I have a fair share of favorites in that category. The dialogue is for sure more unrealistic, and the film can move a little bit too fast. Like, dude, Clear dies in this movie. Hell, everyone does, and we just move on so quickly. It's crazy, man.
Could you be a little quieter with that thing, please?
Yeah, sure. I'll just put it on quiet mode.
We got no time to breathe in this, and yet I can never tell if that's a good or bad thing. I don't know, I'm 50-50 on it. I also love how this franchise clearly doesn't give a fuck. They straight up subwayed this kid. Overall, I do prefer this more to the original. Not that the original film is bad, not at all by any means. I just think with all the foundation out of the way, this film can now have fun and go all out of this series' madness. With better deaths, a more wacky style, a slightly better cast, and the story is generally the same as the first movie, there's very clearly a formula here, yet a good one, and it's generally entertaining all the way. It's still a fun film that goes all out in the madness, and I just really like it a lot. It's great. Not perfect, but great. Bro, the ending got me fucked up, dude. This movie's funny. I'm sorry, man. It's so random and absurd. But of course, Death's job is not yet over.
And your friend Rory, he pulled him back at the last second. Saved his life.
Final Destination 3. This is probably my favorite one. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I really like this film. It's not a masterpiece or anything, obviously. This is still a Final Destination film and follows the formula 1-to-1 already established in the series. I just believe the reason this one is my favorite so far is that it's the very best of the formula. I think the kills are the best ones in this film so far, not even just by sheer creativity, but by how gory, violent, and shocking they all are. And also how perfectly the tension is here, following the domino effect that these films do super well, and yet really messing with the carpet you're standing on, thinking you're going to fall, only to stop, and then yank it out from under you, if that allegory makes any sense. This is for sure the goriest deaths in the saga so far, and just smack you across the head. Even the incident is my favorite. I mean, it's a roller coaster. I love roller coasters, and yet whenever I'm in line, about to board the cart, this is exactly what I imagine if something goes wrong, you know? Like, damn, the tension is really felt in this movie, and what's great is that this is from the director of the first film, James Wong. No, James Wong, not James Wan. Yeah, there you go. When you watch these films back to back, you can really tell how this film is more in tone and storytelling with the first one. Almost like a remake with new characters of the first installment, yet better. It helps when you have...
Can't wait to hear when it's finished.
Finished?
Mary Elizabeth Winstead as your star, and damn, even back then, she got it, man. Yeah, her character and all the characters are typical, yet her acting and even her co-lead are very great, which reminds me that the only general flaw I found with this film personally is that every other character is just dumb. I'm sorry. You see, my flaw with the first film was the adults don't believe the kids trope I hate so much. This film replaces that with the kids don't believe what's going on and end up dying anyway like dumbasses trope. Hell, I love the death sequences in this film, but if there's any flaw in those scenes, is that the characters are so stupid that I felt like death wasn't even coming after them. They were just such imbeciles that they ended up causing their own deaths, and if you tell me that was canon, I'd believe it. Yeah, that's my only general flaw. The visuals are very colorful and pop out. It's got some really solid dialogue with some odd philosophy thrown in there that works for me personally. It's got the best flow with allowing character moments in between the horror and actually spent its time to let the story breathe and let the deaths have an impact. And though it's not as loony as Final Destination 2, it sure is just as spooky. Maybe I'm crazy and this film isn't as good as I think it is, but I don't know. I personally really like this film a lot. I think though this is very much a Final Destination installment, it's the best at being what it is in the series. And hell, the ending too was pretty great at subverting my expectations. Overall, I think Final Destination 3 is the best so far. But our next and final stop for now, Beat It in comparison. Final Destination 5, the for a good while final installment, pun intended, of the Final Destination series. Final Destination 5 is pretty great. I'm debating if I like 3 or 5 more. This time around we follow Sam Lawton, your normal everyday American young adult, with his group of colleagues Peter, Candace, Olivia, Isaac, Nathan, Dennis, and his girlfriend Molly, who embark on a corporate retreat, only for Sammy Boy to get a premonition of a bridge collapsing and saving everybody. Thus death follows them. But good old Tony Todd tells them that in order to become one with the living, they must kill and take a life. Now my general only flaw with this film is that it is by the basics Final Destination stuff. Very formulaic, yet it's still an engaging plot that really greatly adds a new rule into this game. The idea that if you kill somebody, you take their remaining lifespan. Now we're really onto some Death Note electric boogaloo shit. And honestly, my only problem is that I just kind of wish it was expanded upon further, but it is a neat idea. The characters this time around are very rootable, and you legit feel bad for them when they die. Except Isaac, that guy's wanting his god and killed, that's weird. Like Sam and Molly aren't exactly complex characters, but you legit feel for them with their state of Sam pursuing his dreams in Paris and their relationship, which aids into Peter's arc, who's probably the best character. Once learning of the rules and his girlfriend's demise, being pushed over the edge and having to take the lives of his friends. It's a pretty neatly done little character arc that leads to a very fun climax. Which reminds me, not do I believe the incident in this film being of the bridge collapsing probably the most entertaining, yet this film kind of has an action movie quality to it, and yeah, I don't mind it at all. It's actually pretty dope, and yet the horror edge of this, well, horror movie franchise. Like just seeing them jumping around and dodging and fighting in the kitchen is pretty dope. Which also reminds me that I believe Aside 3, this is the first Final Destination film to actually look like a movie and has a pretty clear budget. Not to say the other films look bad, but that they kind of look like TV shows. Good looking ones, but the cinematography here really sells it. Well, even the music by Brian Tyler helps in this case too. Aside some wonky CGI, the deaths here are easily the most fucked of the series. Oh my god, I actually could not look at this shit. The gymnast and laser eye surgery shit. Oh my god, I don't even want to think. Even writing and reading this is reminding me. There's also a cop character in this film who, when the film started, I was worried we'd be repeating the same beats as Final Destination 1. This guy thinking our characters are the cause of all this. But no, it actually does the smart thing. That's the cop just trying to make sense of it all. It makes perfect sense also to why he doesn't just think this is in line with the events of the prior film, because of the out of nowhere, balls on a filmmaker twist that this movie was a prequel to Final Destination 1. And our characters end up on the exact Flight 180 homeboy Alex skedaddled out of, leaving to our characters here dying. It's sad, horrifying, but also amazing seeing how this ties up with the franchise. Like it wasn't necessary, yet made this film 10 times better. I think that's perfectly what I think of this film. There's a bunch of unnecessary things that end up making this movie so good. The action quality, insane deaths, expanding of the rules, interesting characters, and everything else that makes this truly a worthy entry in the Final Destination saga, and a nice end to the 4 movies. We'll talk of this one. Well, that was the Final Destination series, at least the good ones. And I can totally understand now why these films have traumatized so many people. It's generally scary and entertainingly awesome, these films truly are. Just by taking this really dope, unique concept of death itself, having our characters in day-to-day circumstances result in horrific demises, and how they have to try and cheat death. It's so much fun. The cast of characters in each film, that makes you get engaged. A formula that works, and yet each film does its best to expand on it. And some truly fun filmmaking to make this top-tier horror movies of its time. I really enjoyed these films. I hope you go back and rewatch them to see just how special they truly are. Or maybe if you haven't seen them, get yourself embraced for a truly haunting series. This is our Final Destination for now, and I'll see you soon. It's been Sunny, and so long, farewell, goodbye, and you can't cheat